Oh, Max, what do you want to say?
First off, thank you both so much. I think this is such an important conversation. I'm 23, I'm a senior at NYU, and I think I'm speaking for all of my friends when I say that we feel lonely. Young men, anger is really the only societally acceptable emotion that we can express.
Hey, what I say about that anger thing? The last language a man can express to you is through violence and anger. That's the last language he gives you before he blows up the house, shoots everybody up, sets the house on fire. What I've been saying for years. The last language men express is either anger or violence. I know what I be talking about, but come on, let these white boys tell y'all how bad life is for them. Come on.
We're confused, and we kind of need a voice in this wilderness, and you are that. And that's why this conversation is so important. So,
wow.
Thank you.
Can I just ask you this, Max? Do your friends say that to each other, or how is that expressed?
This is something that we text each other late at night. This is not something we talk about out in the open. These are conversations that we have, over the safety of a digital wall. And this is something that is really hard for us to...
Look at her. She's floored. She had no idea it was this bad. Look at her. She had no idea it was this bad.
Talk to each other about face to face out in the open.
And what are you all actually saying? Because the use of the word lonely, I mean, I've never heard, young men say, I am lonely. So are people texting each other saying, I'm lonely, or are they saying what?
I mean, you've mentioned that it took you forever to cry. I remember the last time one of my male friends texted me, I just cried for the first time in years. And it's out of desperation. Yes, I'm lonely. It's, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. It's desperation.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hello.
Hi.
I think something that really is something that I would focus on pertaining to this issue is a need for role models within our communities. I grew up in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, and there was an absence at the time of role models within my neighborhood. Of course, I grew up in a single-parent household, but I did have a relationship with my father. But extended role models to look to and to glean from, it was a dig. And you speak a lot about it, because sometimes it's really, really hard to see where you can't go a certain place if you don't see it, and you want to be able to see where you can go. So I think role models is a really important part of growing up and doing well and finding your place in the community.
Thanks, Alfer. Well, my guest that you're referring to has been sounding the alarm about young men in America. As a father of 2 sons, he speaks, and he says he grapples with this thought: how do I figure out a way to raise confident, decent young men? And I'm sure a lot of you have had that thought for yourselves. That question became...
Conquerors are not decent, okay? Conquerors. You want sons to go out there and become a master of the universe? They're not decent. Decent men don't conquer anything. What did Game of Thrones teach us? Okay? I know it's a crazy allegory, comparison, but Jon Snow is probably the best decent character in that entire series. That man hung a little boy. Jon Snow killed a man after the man told him, I'm sorry, I was scared. I didn't want to go to the wall because I'm scared, please. Still chopped his head off. Okay? Conquerors are not decent men. Please stop this. You think Trump got to where he was at because he was decent? You thought Elon got to where he was at because he was decent? Peter Thiel's not a decent man. Please stop this shit. You got sons. You either raising wolves or you're raising sheep. It's just that simple, man.
Did you see it?
Well, the statistics are pretty stark. If you walk into a morgue and there's 5 people who've died by suicide, 4 men. 3 times as likely. We have a homeless problem and an opiate problem, but what we really have is a male homeless and a male opiate problem. 3 times as likely to be addicted, 3 times as likely to be homeless, 12 times as likely to be incarcerated. More single women own homes than single men. Women in urban areas are making more money. And let me be clear, we should do nothing to get in the way of that. But if we do...
Okay, now, the government has a lot to do with the proportion of women. Now, I disagree with him saying that. He said we should not get in the way of women overachieving over the men. That's a problem. Because I don't see a lot of women coming back to extend a hand to help the men. Now, they'll do that for their sisters, but they're not doing that for men. Because that's not what, how you view men. Men are supposed to get it on their own, by themselves, no help, right? You go through your trials. Nobody helped Leonidas when he was in the forest with the wolf, and he was hungry and stealing food, and nobody's helping the men. No women is coming back to help men. That's not how this works. So I disagree with Professor Scott Galloway with that. Let's continue.
If our young men continue to flail, our country and women aren't going to continue to flourish. And just a couple of things you brought up, loneliness and then role models. 1 out of 4 men can't name a best friend. 1 out of 7 men don't have a single friend. And what I would say is there's a lot of factors around this, but something to be cognizant of is that—
Can I just stop you for a second?
Yeah.
Is that unusual? Is that new?
It's getting worse. And typically when a man isn't in— women are relationally more invested or more talented establishing relationships. And typically they use their friends as a means of gaining confidence to enter into a romantic relationship. Whereas a man, if he doesn't have a relationship by the time he's 30, there's a 1 in 3 chance he'll be a substance abuser. And also there's a cartoon, Oprah, of the poor woman in her 30s that didn't find romantic love. And she's in a big sweater looking out on a rainy day, listening to sad music. What a tragedy. That's a cartoon. The reality is men need relationships much more than women. Widows are happier after their husband dies.
Ouch. Ouch. Come on.
Widowers, it's true. Widowers are less happy. Women live longer in relationships. They live 2 to 4 years longer. Men live 4 to 7 years longer.
Now, this is where he breaks it down flawlessly. He breaks it down. I had no pushback at all for this part.
And that is sequester you from your other relationships. They're either trying to get you to glued to the phone, and one of the ways they glue you to the phone is by enraging you. Elevating content that makes you angry at your neighbor. Elevate content that makes you start blaming the other gender or blaming immigrants for your problems.
And this is being done on purpose.
Well, they didn't start out as malicious, but I'm in marketing. We used to think that it was sex that sells. Then the algorithms found something that sells even more in terms of gluing you to a screen, and that is rage. So I'm not suggesting we censor these folks, but they will elevate content. They will figure out your political leanings, your fears, and then start elevating content that enrages you. Because
Fresh and Fit get you angry. Tommy Sotomayor get you angry. Who else? All your red pill guys, all your manosphere guys, they get you angry at women. Yeah. Okay, he's spot on. Spot on.
enragement equals engagement equals shareholder value. So keep in mind, the amount of time you spend on a screen as a young man, and biologically, your prefrontal cortex isn't as developed as a woman. It doesn't catch up until you're 25. The executive function, the need for dopa, it's much more dangerous in a young man. Keep in mind that you will find they are trying to essentially convince you can have a reasonable facsimile of life on a screen. So keep in mind, you are up against a foe that is trying to separate you from the outside world. And very simply, mathematically, the more time you spend on a screen, the less likely you are to have loving relationships, the less money you're going to make, the more likely you are going to be to engage in self-harm, the more likely you are going to blame other people. In sum, the worse your life gets based on how much time you spend on a screen. We are mammals. We are meant to be outside and in the company of others. And we have for-profit companies.
They got y'all on here hours and hours upon every day complaining about what the women are doing or not doing. That's what they got y'all. They got you in the trap. He's spot on. Remember Psycho Candy? Remember the little guy, Psycho Candy, that was watching the Manosphere when he was 12 until he was like in his 20s? And it wasn't until he became a merchant marine that he realized that watching all that Manosphere content warped his view on women, even though he had never met a woman. And before he even got to deal with women, he already had a negative predisposition on women just from watching these sorry ass niggas on complaining about women all day. This is exactly where they got you at. And y'all and sitting here, well, we need to let the next generation know. No, the fuck y'all don't. Y'all need to get your asses the fuck off the internet for good. Y'all mean young men no good. You are no good. Men have been complaining about women since the 50s. We got footage of it. Men have never been stifled or suppressed about their gripes about women. When is it? When was there censorship against men? We can't talk about women. When? Since when? You've had 10 years, 15 years. Nothing's changed. These women have still ascended, still getting chosen, still getting married when they feel like it, still having kids by men you think or deem are lesser than, and you're still here online complaining. Let's go.
In the introduction, you say you heard from a lot of moms who say something like, I have a daughter who lives in Chicago, works at PR, and another daughter who's at Penn. My son lives in our basement, vapes, and plays video games. You believe that a lot of mothers are also the ones who are sounding the alarms on what's going on with young men.
The dialogue, Oprah, has gotten so much more productive. 5 years ago, when I saw this data and I started talking about it, the reaction was pretty much a gag reflex. Because the reality is, people who look and smell and feel like me have had a 3,000-year head start. From 1945 to 2000, America registered a third of all economic growth at just 5% of the population. So we had 6 times the prosperity in America. And then all of that prosperity was essentially shoved into a third of the population that was white, male, and heterosexual.
I'm so glad he said the obvious. Thank you for that, Scott. But I mean, I guess it helps when they admit that they've had a massive head start. Cool, great. Now, what are you going to do about it? Now, that's the next question. Okay, since you guys had a 3,000-year head start, now what? Are you going to level the playing field? Are you going to curtail you guys' progress to make sure everybody catches up? Yes or no? That's not how conquerors work. When is the white man ever going to stop his ascension to make sure you motherfuckers catch up to him and become a threat to him? Are you kidding me? But thank you for telling us the obvious, Scott.
So I have had gale force hurricane winds in my sails. I have had unfair advantage. The problem is that we are holding 19-year-old men accountable for my privilege. They do not benefit from the same unfair advantage that I had, and that's probably a good thing. But we are holding them accountable. Young men are on any metric really struggling, and the alliance between men and women needs to be restored such that we can be the afterburners for their success and their ascent as women. But also, I do think women play a role in not falling into this trap of thinking, well, you've had a 3,000-year head start. I don't feel sorry for you. You know who wants more economically and emotionally viable young men? Women.
So let's bring in more of the men in our audience. Let's take a look at this video that Brandon posted.
Now, let me just say, this is why nobody feels sorry for white men, what they're going through. That's why I said this is mainly for a call to action for white men. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares that DEI came in there and upended everything and just whooped y'all's asses to the point where y'all felt like that threatened. Nobody cares. Do you understand? Do you see anybody reaching out for the plight of white men? No, nobody. Matter of fact, people are celebrating white men just in a state of confusion and flux. Yeah, now y'all figure it out. Now you're on the receiving end, and it's at the behest of your younger generations. Now your young white sons don't come out the house. Your young white sons have social anxiety because they don't know how to talk to people in public. Now your young white sons are suffering. Now your young white sons are not out here having kids. Now your young white sons are no longer the dominant forces in capitalism. Nobody feels sorry for these young white men. That's why I said this whole conversation is for young white men. This is for them, not for young brothers, honestly.
And that really, really hurts me, because that's all I've wanted since I was a kid. And it eats at you. And you wonder if you're ever going to get what everyone else has, if you're good enough.
Now, should I feel sorry for this white man? Should I feel sorry for this white man? I'm sure this white man makes twice as much money as me. I'm sure he has a higher social status than me, right? I'm sure everything in this white man's life on paper is better than mine, 10 times over. Why should I feel sorry for him? But yet I found a way to build a kingdom, my little castle, right? With hardwood floors. Why would I feel sorry for this? I got it. Why couldn't you? I did it. Why couldn't you? What's your excuse? What's stopping you? I don't feel sorry for men that can't compete. Nigga, I had to compete. I'm still competing. So no, I don't feel sorry for these young white men. Young men, period. No, figure it out. I had to. Yeah, I had the benefit and safety net of my parents, but I still had to put in the work. You know, like at some point my parents are gonna be like, you know what? You know, you're kind of getting up there in age now. You should have had this already figured out. Yeah, I can't keep going back to my parents.
If you deserve it, if it's something that's meant for you. And I've had to come to terms with maybe it's not. And while that brings tears to my eyes and makes me as sad as someone could be, you just got to trust God's plan. But I can still dream.
Brandon, why do you think you feel that way? What's behind it?
I've struggled with that alone feeling my entire life. I got to live my dream job as a sports reporter on TV, and people would see me on NFL sidelines interviewing the biggest stars, but behind the scenes, I was struggling with that alone feeling. I thought I met my wife, the woman I was going to have kids with, and unfortunately, it was a really toxic relationship and breakup, and it put me at a spot where I was suicidal and didn't want to live anymore. And so I had to check into a hospital, get help, and I realized for the first time that I wasn't alone. And I took that moment, and I decided to, similar to what you're doing, be hopefully a vulnerable man that can help others. And so I created the Mental Game, where I interview athletes and celebrities like Terry Crews, Nate Burleson, Kevin Gates, these men who you think might not have any problems in the world.
Jesus Christ, Kevin Gates? Oh my God. That's the wrong person to interview. He is not an example of what manhood is. And okay, but God bless this young man, but I don't feel sorry for you, young man. I don't. Sorry. I just don't.
And they struggle with the same things as me and other men in this room. And I also go all over the country and try to speak. We've been to 46 states, spoken to over 250,000 kids, adults, men, women, just trying to show that, look, it's okay to be alone and to be vulnerable as men, but you have to show those emotions. You know, I watched my dad my entire life hoard it all in, and it wasn't until the night that I called him and said, hey, I'm going to take my own life, that we ever talked about mental health.
So is all that talking and speaking about it, has it helped you resolve your own?
Yeah, I mean, I was emotional watching that video. We locked eyes as soon as it started playing because I posted that 3 weeks ago on a Friday night, not thinking it would do anything, and it had 5 million views when I woke up. Because I think a lot of other men felt just like me. So it is like therapy. I go to therapy. I spent 2 weeks in the hospital. This has become my purpose to help myself and others. But I think what I've learned traveling the country and working with these athletes and celebrities and just anyone that's struggling with their mental health, specifically men, is a lot of us feel the same way as I did in that video. And that's why it went viral. But we're scared of what our peers, other men in the room, women will think of us. I mean, I gave up on dating. I want to get married. I want to have kids one day. But since, you know, I lost who I thought was going to be my wife and the mother to my children, I kind of put all that energy in me. And so I'm not on dating apps. I don't, the rejection thing, that's the biggest thing I'm scared of. I would never go up to someone at a bar and say, hey, you're beautiful. Let me buy you a cup of coffee. I don't drink.
Okay, well then get your ass out the way then, sir. You ain't trying to conquer nothing. Sorry. You ain't trying to conquer shit. I hear what you're saying. Sounds good in theory, but you're not applying it. So you gonna get the hell out the way. You in somebody else's way. You taking up space. I can't go up and get your ass out the way then. Then sit on the sidelines and watch us go play. Okay?
Anymore, I'm sober. I struggle with addiction. And maybe in my younger days in college, I'm cool. All right, you get no, great, go to the next one. Now as being someone that's 32.
So what Scott said here earlier about rejection, how did that land with you?
I mean, it hit hard because like, it's funny, my professional life, I took all of the risk I could possibly do, leaving a job as an NFL reporter and starting my own thing. Personal life, I have no interest in that, just because of that fear. And so rather than risk that, I'd rather pour that energy into myself, going to the gym, working on my business, working on my mental health. I think loving yourself, I didn't love myself until like a year and a half ago. And it took me a long time to get to that point.
Okay, that's all great. But at the end of the day, how you gonna get the wife? You can do all the push-ups, and you can do all the keto diets, and at the end of the day, how's this going? You got to go up to the woman. You got to say, hey, how you doing? Listen, I had to come over here and speak to you. You got to do that. You doing all this for what? You do all this. The end goal is to hopefully get somebody. But all you Sigma men, right? Because y'all talk about y'all not lonely and Sigma men and okay, cool. No diss to y'all, cool. But the majority of y'all want to be with somebody at the end of the day. Okay.
Okay, what's your question for Scott?
I think for me, it bounces off that of how can you balance loving yourself, but also trying to find that person to love. I feel like for the first time, like I said, I do love myself, and I'm ready to date. I want to get married one day and be a father and have kids. But it's like, how do you balance the two? Can you do both at the same time?
So I just feel like I need to disclose, I have no domain expertise or training in psychiatry. And so when you talk about mental health issues, I can talk to you about my own mental health issues, but I don't ever want to supplant the notion that you should talk to professionals and get real advice. I'm speaking to someone who's been through a lot of what you've been through, but my advice is anecdotal. So just that asterisk. I coach a lot of young men, and I have enough respect for you not to PG-13 or whitewash my content. When men usually say, the young men I work with usually want to move out of their parents' house, they want to start making some money, and then ultimately what they end up is like, when they start trusting me, I'd really like a girlfriend. And I go through a series of exercises, and the first thing I ask them is like, would you have sex with you?
Uh-oh.
What do you look like?
Hey, professor, that's the first honest thing I've ever heard any man say in assessing another young man. Kevin Samuels tried it and failed miserably when he asked the young man, is your dick big? I understood what he was saying, but the execution was very poor. He should have asked him what this white man just asked this young white man, okay? That's how he was supposed to do it. But Kevin being Kevin, whatever. Let's go.
Do you take your appearance seriously? Do you have a plan? Do you have a kindness practice? How do you demonstrate excellence?
America, I'm not gonna lie, I really think that us as men, the male power, we are literally having a crisis that nobody is talking about. There are so many men that I know that are struggling with like mental health and depression, especially in these times where the economy and like money and jobs, more men don't have jobs right now. More men are going through financial struggles. More men my age who got degrees, who went to college, who did all the right things, cannot find jobs, and nobody's really talking about it. And yeah, we're seeing these stats that say like, less men are having kids, less men are getting married. Do y'all think that's by choice? That is not by choice. This is not our fathers and our grandfathers' economy. Why would I sit here and put myself in a bigger bind of trying to get married, have a kid, and buy a house if I can't even survive on my own? And I feel like nobody is talking about this, and eventually this has to become a part of the public conversation as society is moving forward.
Okay, we are having that conversation.
Did you see the white man throwing his hands up in praise? Did y'all see the white man in the background? Hallelujah. Did you
Like
see
nobody is talking about this, and eventually this has to become a part of the public conversation as society is moving forward.
You see the white man giving the hallelujah. This is an older white man. Did y'all peep that? Did y'all peep that? Oh, it's bad out here. Oh, it's bad out here. Oh, okay. Come on.
Okay, we are having that conversation right now. We are. So asking, it's given. So what's your question?
Yeah, I think my question, and relating back to the video, is that I think we're having a conversation about men who are just, in the basement and just unsure where life is taking them. What we're not having the conversation about is men like me who did do the right things. You go to college, you have the right job, you don't really struggle necessarily with relationships or women or whatever, but you do have this kind of fear of, I'm doing all the right things right now at 25. How do I stay on track with the way the political climate is going, the way the economy is going? This is a whole new era that we're in. And so my question is just, what do you say to men who are 25, who are on the right path, doing the right things to stay focused and stay ahead of the curve for the future when it looks very unpredictable here in the United States?
You just wish as you got older you could wrap your arms around people and give them the confidence they deserve. If I had your looks, I'd be the leading candidate for the Democratic presidential.
Yeah, this is self-fulfilling internal issues. Like, what the fuck? Like, you gonna have to figure it out. I don't understand. Like, you don't have a crystal ball, sir. You don't have the almanac from Back to the Future. You can't tell there's no book for you to bruh. Like, you cannot live in fear. You cannot live in fear. I keep getting more education and keep getting more trade skills that will keep you employed for the foreseeable future. I don't know, track what's going. If you need to change a career in 5 or 10 years, which you probably will, and go to another discipline to stay on top of things. I don't know what the fuck. Like, nigga, do you want the map? Like, come on, stop this living in how. Okay, got it.
Look, this pivots to solutions, but the reality is, my generation and old people have figured out a way to continue to vote themselves more money. People over the age of 60 are 72% wealthier than 60-year-olds 40 years ago.
Yes, vote your best interest. That's it. That's all. This is some shit you should be talking to your dad about, or an uncle, or an older brother, or a mentor, or a coach. Okay? I would not come on to Oprah to ask a white man, how can I stop living in fear? Like, come on, man. Once again, this conversation is not for young black men. It's for young white men. They're the ones in crisis. Okay? They're the ones in crisis.
Under the age of 40 are 24% less wealthy. Marriage is a new luxury item. If you're in the top quintile of income earning homes, there's a 4 in 5 chance you'll get married. If you're a man in the bottom quintile, there's a 1 in 5 chance you'll get married. Unfortunately, income as it relates to college, certification, confidence, the ability to put yourself in environments for mating, it's really unfortunate. It's now related to the income of your parents. So what I would suggest is the following. Realize that a lot of this is not your fault and forgive yourself. And 2, as citizens, there are common sense solutions, but they're not that romantic or don't make for good TikToks. We need $25 an hour minimum wage. We need, what would be the best thing for young men right now? Universal child care. Where a man is at the greatest risk of self-harm is in the year after he gets divorced. He loses his primary relationship. 1 out of 3 men no longer have contact with their children 6 years after divorce.
Okay, what Professor Scott Galloway is going to fail to tell y'all as to why these women are able to get away with so much after a divorce or with child support is because you have a group of men above them that have used their women to wage war against the underclass of men. Your beef has never been with the woman. She gonna go where the money goes, the power goes. That's where she goes. Your beef is with the upper echelon of men that don't like you and have created these laws and these statutes in place to punish you. That's the real fight. No one ever talks about this. Fuck what the women are doing. They're gonna do what they're gonna do because they're women. Okay, who signed this law into bill? Who's this judge that sentenced me to 50 grand in arrears? Well, okay, when's your next election coming up? Yeah. Who's my state representative that voted for this child support shit? Why do you not have paternal fraud 50 in all 50 states? How come y'all still letting women get away with paternity fraud with no punishment? You can't punish the women for something that they're allowed to do. They taking directions from higher up. There's your real fight. But I don't know what I'm talking about. Come on.
That is the zone of suicide. And why do young people get divorced? Is it a lack of shared values? No. Is it infidelity? No. It's financial strain. So if we want healthier, loving households, it's pretty damn easy. My generation needs to stop hoarding so much wealth with economic policies that benefit us. For the first time in our nation's history, in 275 years, a 30-year-old isn't doing as well as his or her parents were at the age of 30. National service, tax credits for...
That's a white 30-year-old, mind you. That's a white 30-year-old.
Third places, $25 an hour minimum wage, more vocational training, universal child care, Pell Grants. When I went to UCLA, the admissions rate was 74%. This year it'll be 9%. I went for $7,000 total tuition. My first house in San Francisco cost $280,000, which I bought when I was 28. But now my generation has weaponized college and housing. Once I get a degree in a house, I want the admissions rates to go down, and all of a sudden I become concerned with traffic, and I don't like any more housing permits. This is pretty damn simple. We got to put more money in everyone's pocket here.
Yes. So he makes a very good point. His generation, now I'm not going to put this all on Gen X. I put that on baby boomers. Baby boomers, once they got their house and their car in their early 20s and early 30s, they said, okay, now nobody else can get in. They voted for these zoning laws, right? The red zones, they redistrict housing zones so that no one else can get in. You got your house, your car, you take your trips every summer to the Jersey Shore. Baby boomers did that shit. They didn't want nobody else to get in. The younger generation, no, you get it how you figure it out. We got ours, and we're not trying to share this shit. This is why so many people are waiting for these baby boomers to die off to get their hands on their money, because they never passed this shit around. They were stingy with this shit. It's like, oh, we can't let nobody else get to this. It's going too good. That's what this is what Scott Galloway's not going to tell you.
Here, I got to stop buttressing my own wealth with your credit card, deficit spending that elevates my wealth and robs economic opportunity from you. The greatest thing we could do about the loneliness crisis and the mating crisis, pretty damn simple. Put more money in your pockets, full stop.
Make sense?
Makes sense.
Makes sense. Thank you. Thank you, Jermaine. Let's talk about the term toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
Now, you say that this elicits all sorts of reactions, and you call that phrase the emperor of all oxymorons. What's your take?
Well, I don't think there's any such thing as toxic masculinity. I think there's cruelty, there's abuse of power, there's violence. But masculinity is supposed to get in the way of those things. Women need to cross the street when they see men because they feel safer, right? It breaks my heart that you hear in New York, women are afraid to get on subways, and they'll say because there's too many men.
Yep.
So from a very young age, we have to teach our boys, you're a protector. That's how you demonstrate masculinity. And it's not just physical. Real men break up fights at bars. They don't start them. Your default operating system is a man.
Yeah, no. Too many men have lost their lives breaking up fights, saving the damsel in distress when the damsel caused the damn commotion in the first place. No, once again, disagree with Professor Scott. Mind your business. Mind your business. Come on.
Should be to weigh in and protect. That's why we're here. We have denser bone structure, better double twitch muscle, and this amazing thing called testosterone. And the whole reason we're given that is such that we can protect people. Move to that.
What do you want to say?
I just want to say your household name in my apartment of 3 25-year-old women. So I'm very, very grateful for the work that you're doing. And really, anytime I hear this conversation being advanced, it brings me a lot of joy and hope to see thought leaders just stepping in, wanting to protect and honestly redeem and restore my generation, because I mean, I'm heartbroken by what's going on, and I'm heartbroken for everyone in this room. I'm heartbroken for myself.
What breaks your heart the most?
The desperation. It breaks my heart for me and like my girlfriends that I talk to, that any hope and desire that we'll be married with.
You will never hear a black woman say this about her black men. You will never hear a young black woman at the age of 25 say this about her generation of black men. This is not for y'all. This is for them. This is for them, circling the wagons.
Kids is like faith driven, because if you look at the facts, there's no reason to it. You know, like, why would I hope that someone would like want to say I do to me a bunch of times throughout my life if like they can't even use the word date? And it's heartbreak, and it's not anger, because I know that it's a systematic problem. But
I think that's a very, very profound distinction, that it's heartbreak and not anger.
It's not anger, it's heartbreak. And I mean, I could talk all day about how I think big tech is the enemy of community and fruitful relationships, and social media almost ruined my life. And I can only speak for myself when I say that, but it really almost did. And I think it is ruining some lives, and I think it will continue to do so if we don't do something about it. But I guess my question for you is something a little bit more abstract and loftier. in the midst of this crisis, how can we love each other well in this generation? How can we show up for each other? And what type of encouragement do men need to hear from their peers?
Wow. Bless her heart. Listen, I just know off this clip alone, she got 5 marriage proposals just waiting on her. You'd be a damn fool not to marry this woman and build her a house and give her a bunch of kids and, you know, die early and leave her all the resources and the insurance, life insurance money. You'd be a damn fool not to do that for this woman. You'll never hear young black women talk like this. There's no indictment. I'm just saying it is what it is.
I just don't think there's any getting around it. I think we have robbed prosperity and opportunity from your generation to transfer it to mine. The D in democracy is working too well. Old people have figured out a way to vote themselves more money. I would suggest is in terms of how we show up for each other, I think big tech is part of the problem. I think synthetic relationships for people under the age of 18 should be outlawed. I think social media, there should be no social media under the age of 16, no phones in schools. My colleague at NYU, Jonathan Haidt's done a lot of great work around this.
Kids are talking 6, 7, and they're 6 years old coming up to me, Coach Hill, 6, 7, too late.
But what I would suggest—
We're talking about sex robots, people waiting for artificial robots, sex bots, it's too late.
Is that
too late.
Getting out, saying yes a lot, yes to invitations. I think young people do have more agency than they recognize. And that the key to happiness, I think, is almost entirely correlated with how much time you spend out of the house. And so what I would say to any young person is try to say yes to many things as are out of the house. And also, I feel like young people through Instagram and online dating had developed a series of red flags where they immediately say, oh, he's not over 6 feet, or she doesn't have a certain color hair, and they write off each other. So this is the reality of human sexuality. Men are much less choosy. We're much more promiscuous. The reality is men need venues to demonstrate excellence.
Wait, he said what? He said men are more promiscuous. Is he serious right now? I know he just didn't say that. That's a whole lie, sir. Sir, that's a whole fucking lie. What if 18 to 25 demo men, half of those men never interacted with a woman, how the hell can you be more promiscuous than women? There's nobody on the planet more promiscuous than women. Women just hide the shit. Or they're promiscuous with who they like. This man, that's a whole lie, y'all. Come on, don't let Professor Scott Galloway get this bullshit. Think that's a lie.
And if you talk to people who've been married longer than 30 years, almost always one was more interested in the other, and it was usually the man that was more interested in the woman. But what happened is, at church, I liked the way he treated his parents. I found out he was really talented. He made me laugh. Where does a man demonstrate excellence right now? They're not going to.
Now, I'll combat with the anecdotal story. So in our early years with me and B, I chased her. I was into her way more than she was to me. Now, 20 years later, I had to beat her off with a stick. Like, she will not leave me alone for more than 5 minutes. I'm not complaining. I'm just telling you, in our beginning, our early years, I was way more into this woman than she was to me. Okay? Now this motherfucker, gives me that crazy looking smile when I come through the door. I'm like, oh shit, what's going on? Oh, I'm just so happy you're here. Come here. And I just like, oh, okay. Yeah. So no.
The church, remote work, I think is the worst thing to happen to young people. 1/3 of relationships begin at work, and 99% of them are consensual. It's not like it's all predatory. I've had 11.
Nah, man, I think Fresh and Fit, the Fresh and Fits have way too much influence over the youth than Scott Galloway. Scott Galloway's the old guy. Scott Galloway, I put him in the same box as Rollo Tomasi, just a kindler, gentler version, a little bit more educated. But the Fresh and Fits have way more influence. They're younger. They relate more to this generation than Scott Galloway can ever do so. And he puts up a good fight, but no, these kids, Scott Galloway's not on TikTok like that. You understand? Like, Fresh and Fit understand the pulse of these young men. He knows what gets them riled up. Scott Galloway does too, but they relate more to the Fresh and Fits because they're closer in age. Scott's an unk. He's an old man. They didn't listen to the old nigga. What the fuck? Okay.
Marriages at the companies I've started, and I had no idea they were sleeping together. Did anyone know? And they got married, and that's a wonderful thing. Anyways, what I would say is that vote for people who are going to recognize the young people need to share in this prosperity, but also to realize you do have agency, right? And getting out, being friendly, being open, that's the only advice I can provide. And try and put away the phone, because 200 times a day, you're going to get a reminder that you're not living up to this fake life that someone else is pretending to have. This is.
Exactly.
I
these
see you
are
guys
lies.
nodding. Everybody's nodding because it feels like you've gotten this, right? You know this is happening.
So this has been such a great and enlightening conversation. I have so many thoughts that I want to add. I have to say, for a lot of my friends, we've just completely given up on dating. We're more focused on our family and our friends and our careers.
No, wait, no. Now, see, first thing y'all would say, because a lot of y'all are Kevin Samuel acolytes. First thing y'all would say to this woman, well, you ain't pretty. You ain't cute, right? Hold on, let me get the comment real quick. And Vintage, you said, what did you say? Do you believe for the millennials who've been single for a long time, long while, it seems to be harder to find the right person when looking to date in this gen? Oh, listen, it's a cesspool out here. Oh, hold on. I've said this. Listen, guys like Anton would be fish food out here. I don't want to date in this climate, so I can only imagine what you guys are going through trying to date each other. Hell to the no. I'm good. Like, I'll stay where I'm at. It's a cesspool out here. If you find somebody, you better hold on to them. God bless y'all. It's nasty work out here, and I don't want no parts of it. You know, every once in a while I dip my little toe in, but like I'm cool. Y'all out here wilding. First thing y'all would say to this woman, y'all would do the Kevin Samuels thing. Oh, well, you're not cute. You're overweight. Look at your circle. Your friends aren't pretty. You know what I'm saying? This woman probably would make somebody a great wife, but someone's then told y'all because she doesn't fit the aesthetic that you've been told that she needs to fit. Now you're going to cancel her out. See how that works in reverse? But come on.
More focused on our family and our friends and our careers. And for me personally, I feel like I've gotten to a point where I really love the version of myself that I've become. I put a lot of work into her. I'm really focused on my career and that emotional independence, and it feels really great to be in that space. So I thought when I started dating again, that would actually make dating easier. But I feel like it's getting so much harder to actually find someone who is willing to come to the table and meet me where I am. So my question for Scott is, as women continue to level up more and more, why do you think that we can't find as many men that are willing to meet us there?
So what you said was really telling, that you're pouring your energy into family, friends, and work. That is very telling. That's more indicative of women than men. And that is, women tend to channel that energy, that romantic energy, or lack thereof, or interest, into very positive things, whereas men sometimes channel it in.
Okay, if that woman went on Kevin Samuels, he would have tore her ass up. How tall are you? What are you, size 16, size 18? How much you weigh? Oh, your hair's red. He would have tore her ass up and broke her down to nothing, and have y'all convinced she ain't worthy. There's a reason why the man is not here today, to further pollute y'all's minds. But that's not for me. That's for you to argue with the universe about. But come on.
College, don't want to date men who didn't graduate from college. Not always, but generally speaking. It's the high heels effect. And again, this is an uncomfortable conversation. 50% of women say they would never date a man shorter than them. I think that's bullshit. I think it's more like 80%. I think women instinctively want a dude they feel that could physically protect them. And the problem is, or the issue is, and it's both a wonderful thing, but something that's created knock-on effects in mating, is that women metaphorically are getting taller every year, and men appear to be getting shorter. I'm saying metaphorically. And the divorce rates have skyrocketed, and 70% of divorce filings are from women. And it's because, and it's actually for some good reasons, women no longer feel like they're economically indentured servants. They have their own game, and their ascent economically has not been matched by men's ascent emotionally and logistically. So women wake up and say, okay, I'm making more money than you. You're not pulling your weight at home, and you're kind of not there for me. You're not really noticing me. And so a lot of women are doing the math and exiting the relationship. What I would say is, what you're feeling, quite frankly, I think is what a lot of women are feeling. And a lot of women say there are no good men to date, or there are no men to date. No, there just aren't that many men they'd want to date. And so where I try to go to solutions is, how do we lift up young people such that they're all, or more of them, are economically viable, which I think will, on the margin, lift up or disproportionately impact young men. But just the fact that you said you're self-conscious or aware enough to pour that energy into really productive things means you're going to be fine. I don't think romantic love is the be-all, end-all for everybody. It's really rewarding, but I think you can find what I'll call that sort of purpose, relational love in a lot of different areas. And the fact that you're even thinking about how you channel that energy into stuff that's more productive, you're the role model for young men right now. Not everyone's going to find romantic love right away, or it's going to happen, it's going to take longer. But how do you transfer it into more productive means that make you a better person, a better citizen, a better sister, better daughter? So anyways, this is a long-winded way of saying, right on. You're being a productive human. You're going to be happy regardless if you find that or not. And I just wish more men would take your lead and say, all right, maybe things aren't working out for me romantically. I'm going to continue to work on myself. and I'm going to pour that energy into other relationships.
Uh-oh.
2/3 of Congress is going to be dead in 25 years.
Okay, pay
Do you think
attention.
they're really worried? Do you think they're really worried about you or the national deficit or climate change?
Nope.
So my point is, young people, vote, get out.
Even more so, steer your kids into politics. I said this last month. I said, I think as a people, us black folk, steer your kids into politics. Get them ingratiated into politics. Let them start running for office. I don't care what level it is. Get them in the process of doing that. And if we have more generations of our kids invested into politics, you know, I know y'all don't like Jasmine Crockett, but goddamn it, she's doing something right. She's, you understand? She's a thought leader. She affects people's lives with a stroke of a pen. That's where we need to be at moving forward with our people.